Hi, and welcome to the cosplay panel. I'm here today with Malorie Cooper, also known as MD Cooper, a very prolific science fiction author. So, Malorie, say hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Audio problem where my audio is coming back through all of a sudden.
Oh, no. Having a little
Just a
trouble hearing
second.
you. Yep,
All right, sorry about that, folks. Can you hear me still, Christina?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I can't hear you anymore, actually, though. I can't hear you
Cut out
anymore.
again.
Sorry. One quick moment. A way to fix this. All right, now I can hear you, Christina.
Awesome.
Sorry about that, folks. I do a lot of streaming and a lot of podcasts. And I have sort of a particular setup, and sometimes certain software feeds back around through. So sorry about that. And now I'm like all sweating and nervous because I screwed up my audio at the very beginning, but didn't do it before we went live. It was really strange. Anyway, thanks for coming, everybody, and thanks for like wanting to hang out and learn a little bit about cosplay. I'm stoked to talk about all sorts of different ways to cosplay and different ways you can have fun doing it. Um, so if you look at me right now, like I'm sure a lot of people who are here have followed me online. You've seen all the crazy things I wear. I did cosplay almost every day in October. I'm doing it this weekend a bunch, and I find it just to be a really fun way to like express yourself. I always loved watching shows as a kid where everybody got to dress up. In fact, in Canada, there was a show called Mr. Dress Up, and quite literally, that's what they did. They wore costumes every episode, and that was like one of my favorite things to do. But some people get kind of scared of cosplay because you see like these cosplay videos and whatnot, or you see these pictures of like people doing epic cosplay, and you're like, "Holy crap, that's really hard." or you're like, I don't look as good as Mel does in a cat suit, so I'm not sure if this is for me either.
Both me.
But there's a lot of options you can do. There's actually something called casual cosplay that you can do. Now, casual cosplay is kind of like the sort of thing you could like wear to the office, or you could like wear out for a run, and it could be something as simple as like just like wearing a pair of black leggings or shorts or something like that, and then like tossing on your Deadpool hat and your Deadpool scarf, and then boom, you're casual cosplaying Deadpool. And then you could have a little more fun with it. Like you could like wear a suit, like a nice suit, and then wear this, and you're like, I'm Deadpool, the CEO or something like that. You can kind of like make up all sorts of different fun things for cosplay, and they don't have to be complicated. In fact, if you ever go to a con, you'll actually find that some of the people who do really basic cosplays actually get like the best reactions from the crowd. If anyone's played Metal Gear Solid, you'll remember that one of the games where Snake was in the cardboard box, and then he would jump out of the cardboard box and attack people, and you could like move across the map in a cardboard box. There was this guy whose cosplay was literally like a washing machine box with like an eye hole in the side, and then written across the side said "Not Snake," and that's like how he went around the con. He was just inside a cardboard box the whole time. I also saw this girl do this one time, and it was epic. She was wearing a black cat suit just like this, and all she had on her head was a cardboard box like this. And it's like, boom, I'm an Enderman. There's my cosplay. So she would obviously do something a little better because I just like don't have anything to hold my head in place. But she actually had it so it fit around her head nicely. But it was a super simple cosplay. And like this cat suit that I'm wearing, just a black cat suit like this, is only, I think this one's $30 on Amazon. And I've actually used this thing for like dozens of cosplays, and I've worn it lots, and it's just lasted. And it's just the price of a cardboard box and finding like the right color of tape or paint, and boom, you've got a great cosplay.
I think you wore that cat suit quite a few times for Costober, didn't you?
I did, yeah. This one was underneath a lot of this one I was wearing for my Black Cat cosplay and a couple other ones, because this one's front zip. So actually, it's supposed to be a back zip cat suit, but I wear it front zip a lot for different things because it doesn't really matter. When it's spandex, it just sort of fits around nicely. But even if you didn't want to wear a cat suit, like a pair of leggings and like a black tank top or black compression top would have worked just fine for that too. And then other things you could do, like say you had something simple like this. I grabbed this belt at the Goodwill store for $5, picked up this whip on Amazon for like $15, if that even. It wasn't up that much. And then cat ears. Now I'm Catwoman. A little bit of bling. You got the cat ears, your Catwoman. That's that easy to do some really basic, simple, fun cosplays. You don't have to get
Yeah, so
really
you
elaborate.
pulled that together for under $100, which is not a bad investment.
Well, I think it'd be under $50 to be honest, or very close to
Yeah.
$50. So yeah, it's not that much money. And of course, these things are all really versatile. Like a silver belt like this, you could reuse for different cosplays. You know, if you're, I guess not a lot. I mean, guys might want to play cosplay Catwoman too. I mean, who wouldn't, right? And the great thing about Catwoman too is that she's had so many different colors of hair through all the different series. You don't even have to worry about like matching the exact right color of hair for her because she's worn just about anything. So you can find characters like that who've been around a lot, have had a lot of costumes, and you can even do mix-ups between different costumes. If anyone has ever played Overwatch, do you play Overwatch, Christina?
I do not play Overwatch. I'm a WoW girl. I love my World of Warcraft.
It's true. You'll see some great night elves are always really amazing. World of Warcraft cosplays are always really elaborate. Although sometimes you'll get someone who's just like wearing like a little dwarf helmet or something like that, and that's all they're wearing. Just wandering around a con. So there's one character called Diva, and she always wears catsuits, so she's my kind of girl, right? And she has this one version of her catsuit called Biva, and it's all yellow and black. And then there's another character called Bastion, who's basically like this robot with this big gun. So I did it was called a mashup between. Well, it's called a mashup. It's a very fancy word. You might never have guessed that before. So I had like this gun for Bastion, and then Diva carries. I'm just dropping everything that I had laid out here. Diva carries a little pistol like this, and Bastion always has a bird on his shoulder. Like he's a robot that made friends with a bird. So I got the Bastion bird, if you can see it too well here, a little Bastion bird. I hung it from Diva's gun because normally she has a little pair of bunny ears that hang from that. So I had the Diva gun, the Bastion thing, and I bought the cat suit for like $50 on Amazon. This was like $25 on Amazon, and I had this great cosplay. And then this I had to make myself. And I'm going to show actually how to make some of these sorts of things yourself as well. It's actually shockingly easy to do that sort of stuff.
You know, that's one of the things that impresses me about, you know, I've got quite a few friends that cosplay. Some of the things that they make, it's wow.
It's really neat. I got my first real look at cosplay when I had a book cover commissioned, and I had like a set of space armor made for the model. So I got all the breast piece and all the shot. Actually, I should have grabbed some of that. I didn't even think of it. It's upstairs in the attic. But I got looking at that. I'm like, this is just foam that's glued together and then painted, and it's not shockingly hard to do it. But I'm going to show a couple of other quick, fun looks that you can do really simply. These might be a little more girl-centric than guy-centric, but maybe they can give people some ideas of things you can do. Like sometimes you're trying to think like, okay, I do Catwoman a lot because it's just fun to do Catwoman. And I'm like, I actually just put up my Facebook group. I'm like, what should I do? And someone's like, you should do something steampunk. And I've been wanting to do Catwoman. So I had this corset that I got on a sale. So I used this corset. It's upside down. It's the second time I've done that today with this corset.
You know, and corsets can be intimidating for people who've never worn them because there's so much the fastenings and all that stuff, but it's not really that hard once you practice a couple times.
Yeah, you do have to break corsets in. So I would like if you plan on wearing a corset for cosplay, do not like put that on the day you go out. No. You'll be a very sad person if you do that. The other thing too with corsets is don't size down too much. You want something that's just going to nip you in. You don't want something that's like going to drastically change the shape of your body because it won't work and it'll just hurt. Is basically what it comes down to. This one's from Corset Story, which is a place in the UK, and ever since pandemic hit, they've been doing 4-for-1 sales. Oh, this is like this is a $150 corset, but I got 4 corsets for $150. So the neat thing about corsets too is, can Charles hear us? He's saying, is anyone here? That's odd.
Yes, Hopefully can hear you.
So with corsets, one of the neat things with them too is that they should be what's called center laced, and most good corsets you buy will be center laced, where the laces are in the middle of the corset. And some people think they're really hard to lace up on your own, but the secret, I guess I got all my props everywhere. The secret to lacing corsets up on your own is door handles. You just take the loop, you loop it around either side of the corset, and you walk and just pull on the
that is thread. Genius.
And it holds it tight because they make lacing machines. I'm like, well, that just sounds like a thing that pulls on ropes. The other thing that pulls on ropes is just me walking. And then boom, this thing's laced and it's looking fantastic. So that's like one of the best ways to lace corsets.
It is brilliant, isn't it? I wore corsets for 3 years and I never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to give a better view for everyone to see that corsets should be center laced so that when you're pulling in the middle, because that's where you want to tighten the most. You want to create, the tightening right in the middle. This one's actually a little bit wrong. Technically, the top should cross over the bottom and here. So like this should not tighten the same side. It should actually tighten the top side, but it's pretty close to being correctly laced. I just haven't felt like unlacing it and relacing it again. But
yeah, because that's a lot of work.
It is. But if you're going to do corsets, buy a good corset. Don't buy cheap garbage costume corsets for like $30 or $40 off Amazon. You will, unless you already have a perfect figure, you will not enjoy that corseting experience. And even if you do have a perfect figure, like they'll wrinkle, they'll bend, they won't look good.
Corset training is really important. Like wearing it incrementally longer each day so that your body gets used to it. Because like you said, if looks like Charles is having problems hearing us. Yeah, so I mean, if you just like bam, throw one on and try and wear it all day, you're gonna die.
You will, yeah, you will absolutely die. Something that can be a great option as well is if you're looking for corsets that are going to suck you in and aren't necessarily something you're wearing for like part of the costume, latex corsets are really good. Now you have to get these made by like a decent latex supplier because a lot of the latex corsets you'll see are they're made for weight loss and they're not boned, so they'll just roll over. But the really neat thing about a latex corset is that you can actually breathe in it. Because most corsets, like what I was wearing before, it's a solid material with zero stretch. So that would be really miserable to wear. Whereas when you wear a latex corset like this one, let me move over so you can see it, you can actually see,
like I can like, got the bend, yeah.
Bend, I can stretch, I can breathe. And actually, if anyone was at 20 Books to Vegas last year, I wore this underneath every single one of my cat suits all day, every day. Because I can actually, because it's latex, and it stretches and moves with me, I could actually handle that. I actually bowled while I was wearing this. So it's like actually really good for that sort of thing. So that's an idea of like if you did want to wear corsets, if you want to like, and to be honest, if you go to cons, there's lots of guys wearing corsets. Cons are very big on cosplay, whatever you want, no one cares. They call it crossplay if you're crossing genders to do cosplay. And it's super common, so I wouldn't like rule it out. If there's a character you want to cosplay that wears a corset, you go to the con, no one's going to care, And they might not even. You might even be disappointed how people don't even notice. You're like, I'm wearing something outrageous, and they're all wearing something outrageous. So that's sort of some neat ideas how you can do really basic stuff like that black corset that I was just wearing, this cat suit. And then I got like really basic black cat eye mask and like a little fur stole that was actually for part of a Santa costume or Mrs. Claus costume. And I did black cat with that. And all I had to do was just go out and buy the mask. And I already had like all these different pieces I could put together. And it made a really good looking black cat. So there's a lot of ways you can do like really basic cosplay like that and put it together. Another really neat thing you can do is belts. Belts make like any costume look 10 times more badass. So like I've got this one you might not be able to see too well, but I've got this black costume here. I've got this belt. I've done some ones like where I'm doing ninjas or assassins and stuff like that. And just by like adding like a couple of belts on your thighs or on your arms and like maybe adding a pouch to your arms.
I would have never thought of putting a belt on my leg.
Yeah, you just instantly make this thing look 10 times more badass just by putting this belt on your leg. I don't know what it is. They're like useless. They don't perform any function or anything like that. But I've done ones where like I'd have a belt on my arms with a little pouch on the arm, and that's like, and you're like being an assassin or something like that. And it works really well. It really snazzes it up. Oh, I meant to show this with the red corset. When I wore that red corset, I also just bought this little hat on Amazon, and that's what I did for my steampunk Catwoman. And I had the whip. Yeah, so I'd already had this red corset. I already owned a cat suit. I bought that one little hat, and I bought the whip, and then boom, I was doing steampunk Catwoman. And I had people like all day at the con wanting to take pictures with me and stuff like that, and just loving the costume. So
Amazon's a good resource for inexpensive little things.
Absolutely. Yeah, they really, really are. Something to, what do I want to segue? What do I want to do? I'm going to talk weapons for a little bit. Because weapons, I brought a couple weapons out already, and most cons have really strict weapon policies. One of the policies for weapons is there can be anything metal in your weapons. So this is actually just I think this has like a plastic rod in the middle, but otherwise this is just a big foam gun. Like it's not, you can see me twisting, it's not like a solid piece of anything.
Yeah.
And you cannot go to a con with a gun like this. This is a Desert Eagle, and it's actually an airsoft gun, which makes it even worse because it actually makes noise. So you can do stuff like that, and they do not like if you have any type of gun, even a Nerf gun that can still fire. They won't let you bring it into cons. So it's important to note, and you could never bring something like this in cons. In fact, this weapon you can't even carry this on the streets in Boston.
Oh wow.
And normally in a lot of places, the orange tip that's on the end of this gun will allow you to bring it out in public and bring it to cons. But Boston has rules where they don't allow any pretend guns that look like real guns because the cops don't want to have to figure out, is that a pretend gun or someone just painted the end of their real gun orange?
Yeah.
So, and Boston's kind of particular because they had the Boston bombings, the marathon bombing, and then the two airplanes that hit the Twin Towers flew out of Boston. So Boston is really sensitive about stuff like that. And they've had a lot of other sort of things like that too. It can depend, hobby. Metal, like you're saying, metal frame or struts. It depends on the con. Cons will have their own rules, so you need to check the rules. And most cons, before they kick off, you can actually reach out to the people running the weapons check and actually just ask them, can I bring this weapon? Because it would really suck to go to a con and then have them say, you can't bring your weapon in here, and you took a bus or the subway or something like that, and now you're like, crap, what do I do with this weapon that I can't bring into the con? So when I did my Deadpool cosplay, which I love to do a lot, Deadpool, of course, carries regular pistols. So what I made is I made these little foam ones that say pew on the side. This side says bang. And it's just like this two pieces of foam glued together. And that was my guns. And of course, because I was cosplaying Deadpool, it was perfect, right? Because everybody's like, I love your guns. I'm like, pew, pew, stuff like that. And it was a blast. Swords are another thing, of course. You can't bring swords into cons, even if you wrap them in foam or cloth or something like that. They will not, for obvious reasons, let you bring a sword. Yeah.
Matt Zupka is saying that Rhode Island Comic Con does piece bonded swords.
Yeah, but they can't be metal. I would be shocked if they could be metal. Maybe they can. Maybe some cons will let you do it, but I would certainly check to make sure. Actually, they do piece bonding at a bunch of ones I've been to. Like they even wrap this little zip tie around the handle on these things. I'm like, really, guys? Is that necessary? I don't think anyone's gonna mistake this. The funny thing though is that, oops, too much stuff here. I can bring this weapon into cons. And this is actually, you could bean someone pretty successfully with this, but it's 100% plastic. It's just a big Nerf gun. But because it doesn't look like a real weapon, you can bring it into cons. Whereas if it was something that looked like an M4, there'd be no way you could bring it into a con, even if it was plastic. And again, that's that's the most strict rules. Not all cons are quite that strict, but you should be prepared. Like you're making an advanced costume and you put a lot of effort and whatnot into the weapon. Make sure you can actually bring that weapon into the con you're trying to go to, because they can be very particular. And it does depend city by city, state by state, stuff like that. But the bigger cons like PAX, where you're talking 40, 50,000 people, they don't tolerate anything that might not fly. Okay. Oh, so the sword has to be secured to the sheath, is what you're saying, Matthew. That makes sense. Like that. Also, this one I had to paint the tip orange, even though this is clearly not a real weapon. I still had to paint the tip orange. This actually, by the way, keep in mind, I was an idiot. This was when I was first starting out. I paid $230 for this on Etsy. This is really just a Nerf gun that someone took some time painting, and I kind of thought it would be a little bit better. But this whole part in the middle here is all foam. They took out the whole firing clip system and just put all this foam in here. And I'm like, I could have bought this thing on eBay unpainted and done it myself, probably $60 tops, So I felt like a bit of a bonehead, but it's still really badass. So,
But that's a good tip. I wouldn't have thought of buying a Nerf gun and just painting it myself.
Yeah. And actually, if you look at a lot of sci-fi book covers, the characters are holding Nerf guns that have been repainted.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there's a lot of Nerf guns out there, which is cool though. I think it's kind of neat. So that's the thing
I
about
have a
weapons.
whole Rubbermaid tote full of them. We play Nerf gun battles in the house.
There you go. Yeah, I think this is actually the only Nerf gun I have left. This little tiny jobber here. This was actually something we were playing with them at 20 Books to Vegas last year. We had a bunch of these and we were firing them at each other all the time. I was a little bit nervous about firing guns in the casino, but we actually didn't get in trouble for doing that. I was certain that someone was going to come along and tell us we couldn't do that. So I'm gonna wander off. How much time do we have? Oh, we got tons of time. Tons of time. I'm gonna wander off into foam because so much stuff in cosplay that you see. This is actually something I made. This was like my very first thing I ever made for cosplay. I don't know if it even fits me anymore. It looks very masculine, so I don't like wearing it. No, it doesn't fit with my wig. But there's what it looks like on, kind of. This is actually, if I turn it inside out, you can see all the pieces of foam.
Oh, that's cool.
And
yeah,
all gotten glued together at different angles and everything. And the way you do this is use something called EVA foam, which you can buy by the roll on Amazon for quite cheap. It's like, I don't know, it was like $30 for, I want to say it was a 12-foot roll of EVA foam. So it was not expensive at all. It looks like this. And of course, you can get all sorts of different thicknesses as well. And this foam, you have to go through a bit of a process with it. But the first thing you do, of course, is you mark out. You can actually buy a lot of templates for a lot of different things. Like that mask was just a template I bought, and you print out the template, and then you just like lay out you cut up all the pieces on paper, and you stick them onto your foam the way you want, and you cut them up and glue them. So that once you have your foam though all cut, you actually take it and you would Dremel off the edges to make them smooth. Because if you look at these edges, they're kind of rough. So a simple Dremel tool, which like I dropped on the floor earlier, like this, is actually the one that I use for that. And then once you get that done, you use this glorious stuff called barge cement. Let me see if I can get that where you guys can actually see it. It's like that, it's barge cement. Barge cement, incidentally, is the same stuff you would use to glue the sole of your shoe back on if your shoe starts coming apart. Yeah, this is actually what cobblers use to glue shoes together. Which is actually really handy because I've actually since used it for repairing shoes as well. So if you have sneakers where the sole's coming off, that's the stuff you'd use. You put the barge cement in there, you pound it with a hammer a little bit, and boom, it's going to be as good as new. So what you do with the EVA foam is you just use the barge cement and you just glue it along the sides, you put it together, and it will stick and it won't dissolve the foam. Like some glues will just melt their way through the foam.
Yeah.
And then once you're all done with that, you take it and you take a heat gun. Not like you could use a hairdryer if you had to, but you just take a heat gun and you run the heat gun over the foam and it closes all the pores. And that makes it so it's more of a smooth texture. And then the last thing you do, you get this stuff at Home Depot, you spray it with Plasti Dip, which basically plasticizes the surface of the foam. And now you can paint it with anything without worrying about the paint dissolving it. Oh, I missed a step actually. You fill in any cracks with just basic kitchen silicone.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Baths or anything like this. This is just their basic plumbing, kitchen, bath silicone. And that's how you actually end up making it so that on the front, it looks all nice and, this was my first one. It's not perfect, but it looks fairly nice and smooth. Even though like when you look on the inside, you can see there's a lot of gaps and stuff like that. And that's all just filled in with the silicone on the outside. So it's actually this took me, I want to say like 2 evenings, like an hour each evening to make this. And this is my very first thing. So I imagine, with a little more practice, I could actually make a lot more stuff. Like this is, a little more elaborate. And this only took me maybe an hour and a half to make this. I spent a lot more time waiting for the paint to dry on this thing than actually anything else. But
yeah, looking at, someone who's never cosplayed, looking at some of the things that people build and come up with, I always think, oh, that's got to take like 4 or 5 days to make something like that.
And like the more elaborate stuff does, for sure. Yeah. But if you're just looking to get started, you can make nice stuff without that much time.
Well, when I've got 3 kids, so I don't have much time, but it's kind of encouraging that like when I go to con next year, hopefully pandemic over, I could come up with a cute little outfit and not have to put a lot of money and a lot of effort into it and still do my own cosplay.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot of neat things you can do too, like along those lines, like say let's just say your favorite character was Cat Noir from The Miraculous Ladybug. You could always just get his ears, his ring, and like wear a he has like a really long belt that's basically his tail, and like boom, it's your casual Cat Noir cosplay. You wear it with a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and boom, you've done it. So you can always take like a lot of your favorite characters and sort of do the dress down cosplay, which can be a lot of fun because then you don't have to worry about this complicated, elaborate thing. Because if you go to cons, rule number one of cons is that it's always really fucking hot. And if it's not really hot, it's really cold. there's no scenario in which you are in a comfortable temperature at a con. So you have to keep that in mind. But there are some amazing things I saw. Like one time I was at Boston Comic Con. It was actually shortly after the girl walked by who was wearing a black cat suit and just a cardboard box with the Enderman head, a fully robotic 10-foot tall bumblebee.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like sounded like Bumblebee, like he had like this robotic voice, but he also had all the stuff to play all the music clips and voice clips and stuff like that. So he only spoke like once or twice. Everything else was actually all like radio clips and stuff like that. And it was like you could barely tell there was a person in there at all. It just looked like Bumblebee was walking past, like legit Bumblebee was walking past. So that's that one was amazing. And he said that particular thing cost him about $45,000 to make. Yeah, but I think that's his job. Like he actually makes massive things like that and then sells them. Some people do fun things like I saw a guy named one of the best cosplays that happened, and it's overused now, but last year at Boston Comic Con, I guess actually in 2019 at this point, like everybody and their dog was just Fat Thor. Everybody had like a dreadlock wig and a beard, and they had pajamas. And that's like what half the people were wearing for their cosplay. And you think about like, yeah, that's actually, I mean, it was overdone. So after you saw like the 90th fat, overweight dreadlocked Thor walk past, it wasn't quite as fun anymore. But it was still kind of cool at first. You're like, wait a second, that guy's just doing Thor as he goes by.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm dead over that one too. Hobby, that's a lot. So I know you wear a lot of wigs.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So how hard are those to care for?
Oh, did you freeze?
Did I? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah.
Okay. So how hard are those to like get into and care for? And I mean, is there any like, tips that you have for someone who's never done a wig and getting into it?
Yeah, well, I guess one of the things would depend on how much hair you already have. If you have a lot of hair, it can be a pain. Your hair is like not super hardcore there, so I don't think it'd be hard for you. You would just have to wear, pull it back and pin it up. You have to wear, if you're not hairless, you have to wear a wig cap then to hold it all into place. Mm-hmm. You like and pin the wig cap down. So you have to realize that you're basically wearing like a winter hat when it comes to heat, scenario. So keep that in mind. Wigs, if you have hair, wigs can be hot. And then after that, it's really honestly just a matter of grabbing the wig. I actually have my current wig's glued on, so I can't take it off, but it's just matters of grabbing the wig and, pulling it on, and then provide your hair behind it's all out of the way. It's actually going to take care of itself and look pretty good. And that's even just with me, like not even like using a wig cap to hide this other wig. So they're pretty easy to put on. And to be honest, a lot of the wigs nowadays look really good. The wig I'm wearing right now is $30 on Amazon. The most expensive wig I have is $57. So they're not expensive at all. The thing you want to look for in a good wig is what's called a lace front. This wig does not have a lace front. It's just fabric all behind here. And because of that, it can only be parted in this one spot. You can never change the part on this wig. And it's also sort of creates a very obvious sort of like cloth lump. You can kind of see it right there. It's like a cloth lump right there. Better wigs, and the majority of wigs these days, I don't even know how this wig existed and wasn't a lace front wig, but the new ones are all lace fronts, or the good ones, I should say, are all lace front. Unless it has bangs, and it doesn't matter because you can't see anything. But a lace front wig, this one's got like residue of being glued on before. This one's got all like, it's actually a lace, and the hairs are actually like hand knotted into the lace.
That's really intricate.
Yeah, and because this actually isn't a very big lace, so this one you can't really change the part too much. Some of my wigs have lace that goes almost all the way halfway back down the wig, and you can move the part anywhere you want as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. Yeah. Repart your hair.
Yeah, just take your hair and just move it to a new part, whereas ones without lace fronts can't be reparted. But the cool thing with this too is once you put this wig on and you glue it on, you can't see the lace on your head at all. This particular wig I'm wearing right now, actually you can because it's a dark colored lace. This wig is actually made for someone who has darker skin. So you do have to make sure that the lace coloring for the wig matches your skin color so that it will blend. unless you don't care. Like sometimes for cosplay, people just don't care
Yeah.
if the lace matches or not. But that's something you've got to do as well. It's just that if you want it to look good, you want to make sure the lace matches your skin color. And then, believe it or not, the best way to hold wigs in place is usually called got to be glued. You can get it at Walmart, Target, whatever. It's just hair gel, and you put the got to be glued like right along at the edge. Let it set for like 5 minutes, and when you put the wig on, it's going to glue into place and then just sit there.
Now, I have heard you say that you can't use like regular hairspray or styling products on a wig.
Yeah, wigs are not human hair, and actually, you don't want human hair wigs because they're just ridiculously expensive, and to be honest, they don't last as long. And then you end up spending like $500 on a wig that you could have bought for like $40 type of thing. Like I'm guessing most people aren't looking to spend that much money anyway. But wigs like this one is just fabric, and all the blonde ones you see me wear and everything like that, all the natural colored ones, they're basically just polyester for all intents and purposes. And so what you do with them is you wash them like they're clothes. You would hand wash them, but you would actually just use detergent to wash a wig. And and you only need to wash your wigs. And the great thing too, actually, I was going to mention, when you glue them, is that the wig now moves with your forehead. Whereas if you don't glue the wig, your skin kind of moves underneath when you move your forehead around. It looks unrealistic. So if it's glued in, it's going to kind of move around a bit more with your head. Maybe not quite as much as natural hair would, but at least a little bit more. At least you don't see like your skin sliding up down through when you wrinkle your forehead. So you you only need to wash your wig like once out of every like 20 times you wear it, unless you're getting exceptionally sweaty. And then you would just hand wash it with dish detergent or mild dish detergent or fabric detergent. But in between, you spray it with fabric softener, unscented fabric softener mixed about 10-1 with water in a spray bottle. You just spray the wig, and that's how you condition the wig and keep it from getting frizzy and make it easy to manage. If it's a straight wig, you actually use a clothing steamer, like a fabric steamer. And you actually just steam the wig and use a straight brush to clean it as well. That's actually one of the ways I do a lot of my straight wigs. If I do that with this wig, it would just take all the curls out. So I try not to use the steamer on it. The other thing too is you have to get wig brushes, like special ones that they don't have nearly as many teeth in them, and they're well spaced out. And when you brush wigs, you have to start from the bottom. So you got to brush out the bottom first, and then you go all the way up, which is also what you would do too if you had someone who had like a lot of hair.
Yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah, with my daughter, I definitely have to do that. But some people, and of course, the thing with natural hair is if you rip it out, it grows back. But you rip out a bunch of your wig hair and it won't.
Yeah, and of course, screwed after that.
Yeah, exactly. And I have some wigs where I did that, like I ripped out a chunk of hair. So wig brushes are key. Start from the bottom. If they're being unruly, use that 10-1 mix of fabric softener and water and a spray bottle, and it'll loosen it right up. You can also use silicone spray too, like the kind of silicone spray that you can buy that they spray fruit with at the grocery store. You can get like food safe silicone spray that will actually make the wig fabric sort of like really slip on each other well, and it doesn't knot up as much.
So we've got a couple people listening in. Does anyone have any questions for Malorie?
I have a couple more things to talk about, but I totally have a room for questions too. Don't knock anything over here.
Yeah. I think you can move on to your next thing, and if we get a couple questions, I'll...
Yeah. All right. So we did wigs. How
do you remove the glue? Yeah.
This glue actually is just water soluble. It doesn't seem to come off with sweat unless you're like bathed in sweat. So you literally just take the wig and you just pull it off gently, and it'll come unstuck from your head with like minimal effort. And then you just use water to water, face cloth with water, wash your head. And then what I do to get out of the wig lace, which I didn't do with that purple one and I feel ashamed about, is you just take like if you have like a spray nozzle in your kitchen sink, you just spray it with that and it'll wash all that glue out of the lace really nicely too. So it's another great thing too is if you're spending like $30 to $40 on a wig, you don't care too much if it only lasts like a couple of weeks or a couple of like maybe 10 different events. You'll be fine. So, and of course, like with anything, I buy all my wigs on Amazon sight unseen, but I just look at the reviews too. I look what they look like on people's heads and stuff like that. So that's how you do that. I think people that wear makeup too are used to washing glue off their face a little more often because that's kind of what we wear all the time. And one of the things I think is really important to know too is when you go to cons, wear comfortable shoes. Unless your cosplay really involves like some sort of advanced special shoe, wear comfortable shoes. You will regret wearing fancy shoes at a con otherwise. But I think pretty much everybody knows that. Walking on a concrete floor for 8 hours. Your feet are gonna hate you if you're wearing anything at all elaborate. Let's see. Other neat things you can do. I actually meant to do these two things before to dress up different outfits. Is you can really do stuff by just buying like simple fashion accessories. Like this just is just like a simple choker, but this is like something you could do a lot of stuff with. You could like make it part of an AI costume. You could like make it part of like your gladiator costume or something like that. And this is just like a $10 little neck ring thing that you get on Amazon, and you could totally use that a lot of different ways for a lot of different things. So there's lots of different little bits of costume you can get, and people actually almost respect it more when you home make a costume out of like lots of little bits like that. Like if you go to con, they love seeing that, where people make costumes out of basic things like that.
James is asking if there are any other foams that you can work with other than EVA for structural cosplay builds.
Most people I know who do more elaborate structural cosplays use PVC piping inside of things to hide it. They also make EVA foam that's all up to like I think 1.5 inches thick, and that stuff's actually really rigid. So that's something that there are other types of foams that people use, and the names of them are all escaping right now. But I've actually watched a lot of breakdowns of different types of foams, and EVA is actually the one that recovers from abuse the best. Like you can take, I wish I'd actually brought my heat gun. You can take EVA foam and like scrunch it up like this, and it's actually gonna look pretty lumpy. But if you take a heat gun and run a heat gun over this, it'll flatten right out again and look perfect. So that's why most people end up going with this. Just make it thicker, or somehow layer plastic PVC pipe or something like that behind it. Like this gun here that I have is actually just a big PVC pipe inside, and I just glue everything to that. And these are actually these tubes are like the types of tubes that you would wrap them around conduit or pipes to insulate pipes in your house and stuff like that. So just basic stuff I grabbed at Home Depot. All right, what else was I going to show? So many things. Oh, this is another. Well, actually, I'm going to show that one at the end. Let me talk about fabrics. So a lot of cosplays can be done with just really basic fabrics. And I was going to bring a bunch of stuff, but I literally have so much stuff piled around here now that I was afraid I didn't know where to put it. But some cosplays you can do really basic fabrics. Like I like doing a casual sort of like, I guess it's not really casual because Laura Croft dresses casually now, but it's basically just Laura Croft. And Laura Croft's like main outfit now is like a camisole or just like a gray t-shirt type of thing, like a Henley, and a pair of jeans. Effectively, not she doesn't really wear jeans. They're more like dark gray cargo pants is what she wears. So you can actually, if you don't want to wear something complicated or something tight and revealing, there's lots of cool cosplays you can do that don't involve that sort of thing. And really, her cosplay is quite literally that and a climbing pickaxe. And you've got a Laura Croft cosplay going on. So there's a lot of cool things you can do like that. They're fabrics, simple fabrics. Catsuits are actually a really fun way to do cosplay because catsuits don't involve a lot of complicated clothing that's going to catch on things. You have no idea how hard it is sometimes to like deal with like gun straps and belts and like belts around your arms when you're walking around a con for like 8 hours. Half that stuff falls off. People are catching on it. So sometimes if you can do a cosplay, it's a simple catsuit. And lots of guys do catsuit cosplays too. You'll go to any given con and you're going to see like 40 guys wearing a Spider-Man costume or something like that. If you are a guy and you wear a catsuit while you're doing a cosplay, wear a cup or a dancer's belt for the love of God. No one wants to see whether or not you're circumcised. I kid you not. You can tell with a lot of guys whether or not they're circumcised when they're wearing these things. So do us all a favor, wear a dancer's belt or a cup so no one knows. But it's not super uncommon to see that. And the cool thing too, if you're wearing a catsuit, you can actually have more than one cosplay, and it's really easy to change in and out of them. So you can do some fun stuff like that as well. So this is my big reveal. Isn't this fancy?
It is fancy. 1 minute we had a cat, and the next minute we have a sci-fi person.
Yeah, generic cyborg warrior now. That's what I call this.
That's pretty cool.
But you can do fun stuff like that. So if you wanted to do like, I don't know, I've actually seen people do different Spider-Mans too. Like they'll do like a regular Spider-Man and they'll have a Venom one underneath. And so they'll go behind something and they'll jump out as Venom like a couple seconds later. And it's
that's cool.
Yeah,
and,
so you can do
with a cat, yeah, like you said, with the cat suit, you can go back and forth all day long.
Yeah, it's super easy to swap between them. So this is actually, and one of the things I like about too is like a cat suit like this. It's actually like a really good cosplay all in one. Like I don't have to worry about anything belted on or strapped on that's going to fall off or anything like that. I know a lot of guys may not be as comfortable wearing that, but to be honest, at conventions, it's super common, and not that like no one cares, no one's judging you. Or if you want to dress as a girl and do a girl, no one's going to judge you. Literally, it's going to be awesome. This one I'm wearing right now, this is from Bad Inca, and this is like $133 catsuit. The reason why these ones are more money is because like even when you bend, you don't like lose too much of the color. On cheaper catsuits, it'll really white out because they're all printed on white fabric. um, this is one of my favorite catsuits though, and I think this was $35 on Amazon, and it's a Captain Marvel. It's almost a Wonder Woman. It's a Captain Marvel catsuit, and it's awesome. And it's like $35. It has gloved fingers, so do yourself a favor if you ever buy a con catsuit with gloved fingers, cut off the tip of the index finger for whatever hand you are, because you will be really unhappy if you can't use your phone. So that's sort of, I mean, shocker that I would recommend wearing spandex, but I find it to be really versatile. It's not hot, so you can actually breathe fairly well through it versus like if you're wearing leather or you're wearing a jacket over top of things. I see some people with these elaborate cosplays that have 3 or 4 layers, and you just see the sweat just pouring off their heads as they go. You can also
and I really like that you're pointing out that part of cosplay is getting to explore different facets of yourself and kind of step outside the box and do the unusual. But in a convention setting, it's not unusual. It's the norm. It's expected. You can be whatever you want.
It's kind of wild as you get to do it. And almost in some respects, it's almost like it can be a little bit of a letdown because you're like, I'm like dressed super wild and like no one even notices kind of thing. But if you find you'll eventually find your crowd. Like also if you're doing cosplays for a lot of different events or different like games and whatnot, like find on Facebook or on Reddit, wherever that con sort of like is centered. And there are going to be people who are actually organizing photo shoots and stuff like that for whatever you're cosplaying. I do, for PAX East, for example, I do Overwatch on Saturday because there's always a big Overwatch cosplay event. And there's usually like 50 to 150 Overwatch people all wearing cosplay. And we do like all the divas, all the Mercies, all the Reinhardts, they all go in, and they do different poses and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. The other thing you can do too is you can actually get catsuits printed. So this is actually a design. So I'm the lead writer for a game called Destiny Sword, and one of the AIs is named Eris. And so we actually had one of the game designers design this catsuit, and there's like patterns you can use for the printing. And I sent it off to the same people that make this one actually, and they printed the catsuit on this for me. Actually, I did 2. I did one with these people and one with a place in China that was about $70 left. And actually they were both pretty good. So you can actually like totally get something like this printed out. And this, you also notice too, like they enhance the breasts, stuff like that. But also like the male ones, they would actually do pecs and stuff like that. So you can actually get like a really nice look on them still, and feel awesome about yourself. My Deadpool, which is one of my favorite cosplays, it's actually a male Deadpool male Deadpool cosplay. So it's got like pecs and a 6-pack and whatnot. So I need to get a new one of those so I can do a proper cosplay with that. But
so Hobby is saying about a cooling system in his cosplay for
Andrea's
Demons.
Yeah, for Andrea's Demons, he's actually one of my readers and co-authors as well. He's written in one of the anthologies I did. And actually, Hobby, there's another reader named Sunshine. She lives in the UK, and she's actually making a Rika, which is like a mech girl. In one of some of my books, she's actually making a Rika costume, and she's actually working out an internal cooling system to be able to actually wear this cosplay. So, but clearly that's not her first cosplay. Another thing that actually looks really cool that you can get, and a lot of costumes you'll see are made with PVC, which is usually spandex layered with PVC, shockingly. And this is actually one of my favorites, that it has like this really cool holographic look on it. But this is actually possibly one of the hottest things I own to wear. It's unbelievably hot to wear this. You sweat balls instantly. It's just insane how hot you get. So a lot of things that look really good are quite uncomfortable to wear. So that's something to keep in mind as well when you're doing cosplay. And there might be like, you might want to do cosplay for like a shoot and like have like this really cool shoot, or like I actually did Deadpool one year for my Christmas cards, and it's fun for that. But like, wearing something crazy like that all day is not a lot of fun.
Well, we're getting close to our time. We've got about 5 minutes. If you got any last questions or comments people. We have James saying he saw a Warhammer 40K cosplay at Dragon Con that used several old CPU water cooling rigs to cool the inside.
Oh, awesome! I love that because that would actually work well with a Warhammer 40K costume too, like having all this external piping and tubing. I actually want to do a Borg Queen at some point, like with all the tubes and pipes and everything. I think that'd be awesome. But that's like that's the sort of thing like you start planning like a year in advance, especially when you're like new at building things because you're going to screw up. I was going to say like the last thing that someone might want to do for cosplay, and this like is wearing latex. And I actually know people who wear latex only for cosplay. I wear latex because I love it and I wear it for cosplay. But this is like one of my favorite latex catsuits. It's my Spider Gwen. And latex looks amazing because it always like looks like a finished product. It's sort of a nice thing about it, the way it's like extra shiny and stuff. But it's a challenge to wear because all of your sweat stays between you and the latex. And on top of that, latex doesn't make you warm or cold. It makes you, if it's cold out, it makes you more cold. And if it's warm out, it makes you more warm. Like it's like the most evil fabric in the world in that respect. So I would strongly recommend if anyone ever like wants to do latex, because you can like buy lots of awesome latex catsuits. Try it out with something smaller and cheaper first. And also know you have to like polish this stuff and you actually have to lube it to get in. And you can only use silicone polish. There's a lot of stuff online that says it's latex that isn't. The way you can tell is that seams on latex are always glued. They're not sewn. So if you look at the seams on this catsuit.
Oh yeah, interesting.
You can sort of see the doubled up part because it's sewn. Or it's not sewn. So anytime you see anything that says it's latex and you can see stitching on it, it's not latex. It's actually probably just PVC. And that would affect your price and also your comfort because PVC is actually hotter than latex and it rips more easily too. So just sort of like a handy thing to know. But yeah, latex, because it's basically natural rubber. If you use any organic polish on it, it will just dissolve the latex. So
oh man,
it is the most expensive and least practical fabric in the world. It's what's important to note about that. So.
Well, this has been great. I've learned a lot. I'm actually kind of feeling empowered about doing a cosplay at Jordan Con next year.
That would be awesome.
So thank you so much for all of your tips and your knowledge. And is there if you want to plug your YouTube channel where people can come see you in different cosplays all the time?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. If you just search for Malorie Cooper on YouTube, you'll find me. I actually every day I do live stream my writing, but half the time I'm in cosplay while I'm doing that. And then also if you go to do Instagram.com/Malorie Cooper, spelled like it is on the screen, you'll actually find my Instagram, which is basically just 100% cosplay all the time. So you can kind of see what I got going on there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything that you've taught us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me. So raspy.